depends if you're going left or right, economically speaking. What are you voting for? Hello, this is the Marketplace Morning Report from the BBC World Service. I'm Leanna Byrne. A very good morning to you. Today marks the official start of the French election campaign, that snap poll called by President Emmanuel Macron after his party lost ground to the far-right National Rally at the EU elections earlier this month. I've got the BBC's Hugh Schofield on this. Hello.
Hi.
It all really kicks off today, doesn't it, Hugh? Do we know anything about the economic policies of the different parties?
If we can, look at the two sort of opposition blocs, that is the far right and the left, you can see actually they've got pretty similar policies. I mean, we say far right, but of course the National Rally's economic policies are very statist, about stimulating demand, putting money back into the pockets of people in order to improve their living standards and so on. And so what they are proposing, for example, is lowering VAT on fuel and electricity and so on, and cutting payroll charges so that people go home with a bigger pay packet. They're also looking at repealing the famous pension reform, which Macron saw in a couple of years ago with great difficulty. They say they've done all their costings and they'll raise money by, for example, not spending so much on immigration. And at the same time, we have the far left saying something that not dissimilar. Where they differ is that they say they'll raise taxes on, the super rich and on big corporations and so on, but they're also promising a lot of goodies to the people who are less well off, increasing the minimum wage, for example, about 15%, and also rolling back this pension reform. So similar programs, which allows Macron in the middle to say, look, these things, both parties are completely uncosted. They're promising the earth, and the only sensible course is to stay with us, stay down the middle. But, the thing is that, people aren't necessarily going to vote along for those reasons. They're not necessarily going to vote on economic reasons. They're going to vote because they dislike Macron. They're going to vote because they think his policy on immigration is wrong, or on insecurity. There's a very deep antipathy towards Macron in the country, and people who might otherwise think that the economic policies of the far left and the far right are mad might vote for them nonetheless.
Hugh Schofield in Paris, thank you so much for joining us in Marketplace.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's do the numbers. A few numbers out of China. The country's industrial output grew by 5.6% in May, which was less than expected, and down from April's 6.7%. And last month, new home prices in China's biggest cities dropped by 3.2% compared to last year. Now, German sportswear giant Adidas is investigating what it calls potential compliance violations in China after reports claim that senior managers at the Chinese branch allegedly received bribes from suppliers. Here's the BBC's Pierre-Antoine Denis.
What we know from the statement that we received from Adidas is that they are taking the matter very seriously. Basically, all comes from an anonymous letter, which was first briefly shared on social media in China and then being sent to Adidas, in which they claim that several Adidas employees, including a senior manager, were giving bribes and real estate from certain suppliers, and that could involve several $1 million.
Pierre-Antoine Denis there.
Distribution of Marketplace Morning Report from the BBC World Service is supported by Amazon Business, helping provide a smarter, easier way to get the supplies businesses need to thrive. Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying. And by C3 Generative AI, verified, traceable answers, secure, hallucination-free, LLM-agnostic, IP liability-free. Learn more at c3.ai.
The European Soccer Championship kicked off this weekend. It offers significant branding opportunities, particularly for kit suppliers like Nike and Adidas. And it seems like this year Nike is outspending its rivals, securing 37.5% of the visibility with 9 team deals. Not to mention the big news that Nike will be taking over as the sponsor of the German soccer team. University professor Dr. Christoph Brauer at the University of Cologne can explain it all. Hello.
Hello.
How big of a deal was it that Adidas lost its partnership with the German soccer team?
The relationship between the German Football Association and Adidas was not just an average sponsorship relationship. Both organizations have much in common in terms of their history, in terms of their brand development. One important moment why Germany won the World Cup back in 1954, the final day was a very rainy day. And Adidas football boots contributed significantly. The German football team performed well because Adi Dassler, the founder of Adidas, was a kind of equipment manager for the German team. They used for the first time so-called screw-in football boots, which gave the German players much better stability. And this special relationship lasted a very long time.
Could you even quantify the return on investment kit sponsorship like that would have given for Adidas?
No, from a sports marketing perspective, it's always really difficult to calculate return on investment of such deals. But it is more than just revenues coming from the sales of jerseys of the national teams.
And it seems like Nike is dominating when it comes to branding. Why is that? Is it always a bit of a duopoly between Adidas and Nike when it comes to soccer branding?
We know from sponsorship research that in some industries where we have two dominating companies, some make use of the so-called competitive advertising. So it's not only in their calculations if they can achieve a certain return on investment. For them, it's also useful that their opponent will be beaten in their main domain. So Nike has beaten Adidas on their home ground in a sponsorship deal. And so Nike decided that it is worthwhile for them to pay a much higher price.
Okay, Christoph Brewer, thank you so much for joining me on Marketplace.
Thank you.
I'm Leanna Byrne with the Marketplace Morning Report from the BBC World Service.
Distribution of Marketplace Morning Report from the BBC World Service is supported by Progressive Insurance, providing direct car insurance rates side by side with other insurance carriers. Customers can see rates and find an option that works for their needs. Now that's Progressive. Learn more at progressive.com. And by Affinity, provider of the CRM for the private capital relationship economy. Affinity knows who has the best relationship with the right startup. Affinity.co/marketplace. This is APM, American Public Media.